But let's discuss that in a moment, because our guest has arrived and I have to move. Where is he? He's going to be there. Here he comes. This is very exciting. This is our guest. I'm just going to make my picture there. John is I think we can hear you, John. We cannot see you.
Let me see whether I can.
You can do this, John. You are a record producer. You must be able to work Zoom.
Can you see me now?
No, sir.
No.
Don't worry. You're in very, very good company. Every show there he is.
See you now. Hi, John.
There he is. Hey, John, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, Iain?
I'm doing very well. This is my friend Katherine. Everybody, this is now, John. We've got to address this straight away. How many times do you get the John Williams thing confused with the composer?
I wish I got his PRS check.
Yes, that's the confusion we can all deal with.
Isn't it? Were you ever tempted in your illustrious career to change your name? Was that ever a consideration?
Well, a friend of mine, Trevor Dan, suggests I use my middle name, John Owen Williams, which I use on records occasionally. And that's why on this new project, the album I just released, I call myself the John Williams Syndicate.
There we go. Syndicate makes it sound kind of like gangsterish, like tough guy.
Yeah, of course.
Did you just mention Trevor Dan from radio fame?
You know Trevor Dan.
Yeah, Trevor Dan. He was the first person I met in the record business when I started in 1974, when I was a rep for Polydor on their promo department, and my patch was the East Midlands. And I did. It was the advent of local radio, and nobody knew how powerful it was going to be. So Polydor had 8 people on the road, just visiting radio stations. And I went to Radio Derby, Radio Nottingham, and Radio Leicester. And at Radio Nottingham, the first appointment I had was with Trevor Dan.
Incredible.
Who just started work that day.
Oh, wow.
And we became good friends because we found a mutual interest in Nick Drake.
Oh, I think I was going to say Knickers then for a second. I thought, my God, it was the 70s. We know Trevor. We've done stuff with Trevor. People, we've got some radio anoraks listening. Everyone knows who Trevor is. Nick Drake, though, were you into Nick Drake when I can't remember when he died.
I think he died in 1976.
Okay, so were you into him when he was alive?
I was into him in 1969.
Wow.
When I was living in Tours in France, when I was in college. And I walked past a record store and saw the sleeves, the 5 leaves left in the window. And I thought, that looks intriguing. I went into the shop and played it and bought it.
Wow.
And this is quite a rare copy. It's worth about $2,000 now, this is vinyl.
Beautiful. You didn't ever I know he only did a handful of gigs. He hated playing live. You didn't ever get to see him, did you?
No, I didn't. He was a brilliant performer, but he got into the state of tuning his guitar to different tunings every different song.
Yeah.
So he wasn't very good at in-between chat. So,
and painfully shy as well. So,
apparently, but if you saw him when he was 18 and 19, he was head of house. He was captain of the football team.
Wow.
He was the gregarious, outgoing guy. He smoked too much dope. I think that was the problem.
That was the problem. We just listened before you came on, and your latest single with Man Alive, Petula Clark.
Petula Clark. I was going to ask you, is that the French connection that brought you and Petula together, or is that coincidence?
No, that was just coincidence. What brought us together was 20 years ago when I was senior VP of A&R for the Sanctuary Records Group. And we owned the Pie catalogue with all her hits like Don't Sleep in the Subway, Colour My World, The Other Man's Grass, Always Greener, My Love, I Couldn't Live Without Your Love, Downtown, all those classic records.
Yeah.
We owned them. So we were going to do a greatest hits. And she said to me, I'm so bored of doing these greatest hits. I want to record new stuff. And so we recorded a couple of new tracks, and then rolled forward another 10 years. I was working at Universal, who had bought Sanctuary, and yet they wanted to make another greatest hits. So we did some more new tracks. And eventually, I built a recording studio at the bottom of my garden and started writing, and presented her with a song called Cut, Copy Me, which she loved, and we recorded, and it became a huge hit in Belgium.
Of course it did. Of course it did. She's 89 now, right? And we normally wouldn't mention a singer's age, but I think it's important. We were talking about Paul McCartney, who's about to go on tour at 80. She sounds, and I know there's a little bit of studio trickery going on there, and that's absolutely fine. She sounds incredible, though, doesn't she?
She's absolutely amazing. She is youthful.
Right.
And you talk to her on the telephone, it's like talking to a young girl.
Yeah.
In her 20s. And she hates talking about age. She hates talking about the past. She's all about the future and the now.
Wow.
And it's a very positive way of looking at things and very inspiring.
Right. The song is great. There's always that, it's more than great, it's actually brilliant. And there's always that thing when you get sent a link for a song, and we were saying people like Johnny Cash in the 80s and 90s would be called a heritage artist. Imagine, in their late 40s. But you get a track from someone who you know so well, and you always think, okay, well, this might be a little bit stinky. Man alive, it's such a good song, John. It really is, that beautiful little verse and then this huge triumphant chorus that just keeps building. It's an absolute joy.
Thank you. Well, I love it as well. I spent months making this record. I wrote it with a friend of mine called Paul Visser, and wrote it about 3 years ago. And then Petula heard it, and we put her vocal on it. Well, I put her vocal on it, and she then insisted the record was too bare. So I put some more guitars on it, and she still thinks that it's too bare. But I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I've slaved over every note on this track, and thinking that Radio 2 might play it, but they've rejected it.
No, that's you in the background vocals as well, isn't it, John?
Yes, there's another song which I don't know whether you've heard called New Flag.
Yes.
So that's me and her doing a duet. So yes, Katherine, I do sing with her, but mainly it's her on this one.
That's odd. Well, I don't know. I mean, I've not listened to Radio 2 for a while, but I can imagine that song sitting so comfortably on Ken Bruce's show. It just seems effortless to put that on his plate.
I was surprised.
Yeah.
But there we are.
What little good we can do, we will certainly plug it. This is the album, Out of Darkness. I don't know if people... You've got a weird shot, John, but it's just because the way that we're streaming. People are not seeing that weird little corner that you are. But this is the new album. Is it? I'm assuming it must be out now, right?
You can get it through Amazon.
Okay.
And it's on all the streaming services. And Luminescent is out on Friday, the Petula Clark track. Her version is not on the CD. It's Claudia Brucken's version.
Okay.
Is on the CD.
Okay.
And Claudia Brucken is the singer from Propaganda.
I don't know Propaganda.
Dr. Mabuse, Jewel, they were signed to ZTT, the German band in the mid-80s.
Okay.
And Claudia Brucken is one of the most extraordinary singers I've ever come across. And I made a solo album with her a few years ago. And anyway.
You mentioned working for Pi in this. Was it Pi in the 70s?
Well, so
Polydor.
I worked for Polydor in the 70s.
Now, if I've got my rock and roll right, the Who were on Polydor in the 70s, weren't they?
They were.
Did you ever have any dealings with them?
Well, I remember being in Leicester with them when Keith Moon played tricks on the hotel porter.
Oh, God.
Which I can't really repeat about. But years later, I became head of A&R at Polydor.
Right.
And I mixed 3 or 4 unreleased Who tracks, Boney Maroney, and...
Mary Ann with the Shaky Hands.
That's one of the great tracks, isn't it? I didn't mix that one.
Oh, okay.
When I was at school in the 60s, we used to open I was in the school band, and we used to open our set with I Can't Explain.
Wow.
Which is one of the great records.
The Who are such a weird band, in this kind of tough rock sort of singles band in the 60s. And then, these huge sprawling albums. I do think the Who, for some reason, the Who and the Kinks don't quite get the respect that I think there's always the Beatles and the Stones. Well,
Iain, actually, I was a Who and Kinks person, and preferred them. I didn't like the Beatles or the Stones. Well,
Wow.
I didn't dislike them, but they didn't rock to me. Whereas when I heard "You Really Got Me" by the Kinks, it almost changed my world. You know, changed. I was a 13-year-old living in Wolverhampton, and this is about the greatest thing that I'd ever see. And the same thing happened when I heard it. I can't explain.
Wow. It was punk. It was punk. You know, that dirty sound on "You Really Got Me," where Dave sliced the speaker with a razor blade. That was punk 15 years before punk existed.
Absolutely amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now, you also, you've produced loads of bands. Tell me some of the big bands that you've worked with.
Well, I produced Simple Minds, The Cure, The Proclaimers, Debbie Harry, Ocean Colour Scene, and I still work with Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott.
Okay.
I'm here talking to you from Manchester. I live in London, but I'm up here until the middle of May, making the 5th in a row of Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott albums.
Wow. We have to be careful. I'm going to put cards on the table. Katherine is not a fan of the beautiful South. We've had many, many arguments on this show where I'm defending them and Katherine doesn't.
But I do like Paul and Jackie. I think they seem like good people. It's just not my thing. It's just
Did you like the House Martins?
Yes, some.
Let me step in. Did you like Caravan of Love?
Who, me or Katherine?
No, Katherine. I'm asking Katherine.
It was. I
would
wasn't
say
very
yes.
old when it was out.
I
but
would
yes,
say yes, because he did it. He did it.
Yes, and I've been in a room where Paul sung it as well.
And I did the finger clicks on it.
Great.
You did the finger. So you actually produced that song.
I preferred the
Yeah, I
finger clicks
produced
in
it.
that to any other finger clicking ever.
I heard that for the first time in about 25 years, John, the other day. And I was driving and it just goosebumps. I'd forgotten how perfect that is in terms of the harmony and stuff. Was that tough to produce?
It was really tough. It was 48 tracks.
Wow.
Two machines running together. And the idea was to make it sound like just that they stood in a room and there they were doing it. But we treble tracked, quadruple tracked each part, and it's just a masterpiece. I mean, I was just I enabled it, but they were. Paul Heaton is such a great song. He's a soul singer.
What's the difference between producing something like that? However, God, when was that? 85, I'm going to guess. Difference between when was it? Sorry.
86.
86. I was
You're
close.
very close. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm also very old.
You're a young man.
I like this guy. He's coming back every week. What is the difference from producing in 1986 and producing in 2022? Because I'm imagining it's a completely different thing now.
Well, actually, it's no different.
Right.
Because it's still a performance. It's still recording different instruments, and it's still making a song come alive. So it's a lot easier now because you can own your own studio. I've got a studio at the bottom of my garden in a shed. I've got a 12 foot by 10 foot shed where I make all these records. I made Luminescent in there, and it sounds like it was done at Abbey Road.
I am looking at your list of bands you've worked with. I'm laughing because of Carter, the Unstoppable Sex Machine. Now, we are huge fans of Jim Bob. Jim Bob has been on this show several times. We even get a mention in one of his books. Did you produce them, or did you just sign them?
I didn't produce them. I was head of A&R at Chrysalis.
Yeah.
And they had brought out 30-something and were ready to be signed to a major label. And I signed them with a guy called Tony Smith. And we did I think it was called The Love Album. And we hired a jet plane and took 40 journalists over to Brussels to the EU building, where we held a press conference. And Jim Bob, Fruitbat, and myself were on center stage fielding questions from the journalists. And it went straight into #1 the next week.
Jim Bob's delightful, isn't he, Katherine? This huge noise that he makes from this very quiet, introverted man.
I haven't seen him in years. I haven't seen him since 1989.
He's on good form. He's written a couple of really good autobiographies, kind of. But
he's a great writer, great lyric writer.
Yeah, and he's still doing it. And he's still selling out places like Shepherd's Bush Empire, and still going.
What about the fat bastard? What's happened to him? Fat bastard.
I think he died.
Oh.
I think someone in the chat will correct me. I think the fat bastard. I mean, I think he died. I'm not laughing at the death. I'm just laughing at the name. Someone will correct me.
At some stage.
It does. People in the chat are asking, have you ever written a book, John? Because I know we're just touching the tip of the iceberg of your career. Have you considered doing a book?
Well, I've thought about it, but I still got a few things to do. I think
it's not finished yet.
It's not finished. I want to make a few more hits.
Tell me about Kathy Dennis, because she is. Who would have thought that she would go on to be one of Britain's greatest songwriters?
Well, Simon Fuller was her manager, and I was head of A&R Polydor in 1987, and he brought me in this demo tape of her singing a song called "The Snake," and she was writhing around almost naked in a carpet on the floor, and she was singing, and she had a great voice, and I thought, the girl's got some front. I mean, she got to make a video like this, quite saucy.
Saucy.
And I gave her a 3-year development deal. Gave her 10 grand a year, and I put her with different writing partners, Anne Dudley, and she wrote Too Many Walls with her. And actually, she was the reason I got the sack at Polydor. I was being a head of A&R is like being a football manager, and your results are everything. So we spent 3 years making this first Kathy Dennis album, and I was given the marching orders. And when I asked what was the reason was because you spent all this time on this useless Kathy Dennis project. And the album came out after I left and had 5 US top 10 singles on it.
And you produced. Sorry, go on, John.
Oh no, such is life.
She's incredible. She writes. I mean, she's had hits with the Spice Girls, with everybody. You know, she's one of those that just has that magic.
Some of the Britney Spears tracks she's written are just sublime. No, she's a great writer.
Yeah. Also, you produced for John Peel sessions. Is that right?
Yeah, I was a Radio 1 session producer for about 5 years, from 81 to 85.
Wow.
And I did the first one I sessioned was Killing Joke.
Wow.
And I did Big Birthday Party and The Cure and Simple Minds and The Waterboys, and it was amazing.
You've had some life, man. Do you not just think, you know what, I'm done. Let me just go and sit in my garden. Let me just go and have a nice cocktail.
I haven't started. I'm a late developer.
And he does sit in his garden. He sits in his shed, makes records.
Yeah, that's right, Catherine.
Tell us about the new album, John. Out of Darkness. What is it? Why this? And how did it all come together?
Well, it came together during lockdown. I just finished producing Manchester Calling, the Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott album, which was at #1 in the charts. It debuted #1.
Well done.
And lockdown happened, and there was nothing to be done except I had some unfinished business. I had a couple of singles out on Rack Records in 1979 as the singer, and first one was called Rendezvous, which is Record of the Week, Kid Jensen, Radio 1.
Rendezvous is such a 70s title for a song. I love it.
And so I thought, well, I'll go down to my shed and try and write a song in all different kinds of styles of music and sing them and just entertain myself. And which I did. And a friend, Jamie White, who I used to work with at Sanctuary, got in touch. He'd seen me on a Proclaimers documentary, and he said, I didn't realize you were a record producer and songwriter. And he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm making my own album. He said, let's hear it. He's the son of Chris White, the Zombies bass player.
Oh, wow. We had the privilege of seeing the Zombies playing Odyssey and Oracle, didn't we? Was it the Play? Was it the Palladium or Dominium? Something, one of that. Palladium, I think.
Shepherd's Bush Empire. Were you there?
No, we went to another one. I think it was the Palladium. It was. I know they did it. They celebrated it several times.
So Odyssey and Oracle is one of my favorite albums ever.
So good.
Oh, this is
so good.
Incredible.
And so, anyway, he heard the songs and he said, well, I'll publish them. I'll help you put it out. And so they're all songs I've written and songs which I played most of the instruments on, layer by layers. And I had a lot of fun. And I hope people who hear it enjoy it as well.
This is the album. Oh, get into focus. Focus, please. I will make this focus so that everyone can see it. There we go. Out of Darkness, the John Williams Syndicate. And your website, I haven't got my glasses on.
JohnOwenWilliams.com.
JohnOwenWilliams.com. If you want to go and have a look there. I'm so sorry. Do you know what? It really pisses me off, things like Radio 2 not going for this. And I mean, it's slightly different, but Jim Bob from Carter said that no one will touch his records, and he's obviously brilliant. And this is obviously brilliant. And that Petula Clark song is, it's remarkable. And
well, thank you, Iain. I'm inspired by your enthusiasm. That's exactly what I wanted.
John, listen, I'm a songwriter. Catherine
will
Catherine will tell you.
Get his guitar out, John.
Catherine, please tell him how good I am at writing songs.
Well, he's original.
Oh, I'd like to hear them.
You really wouldn't. There tends to be one theme. I've got my own
recording setup in the hotel room. This is a soundless guitar.
What? I hate to break it to you. There's some of that guitar missing. What do you mean a soundless? What does that not make?
Get a soundless guitar in?
Be quiet, please, Catherine. Respect the artist.
You play it and it's like an electric guitar, but you put headphones on, plug it into the recording setup.
Oh my God.
It's like the most beautiful acoustic guitar you've ever heard.
Wow. I will send you some of my demos. The fans in the audience are saying, "Iain, sing him." I'm not going to, because I don't want to upset you, John. You just put an album out and then you hear something by me and go, "Shit, I'm going to give up. It's not worth it."
Wasted your time.
Is this on Boom Records?
Yes, we'll put it on. We'll put it anywhere. I'll send it to you, and you can have them for free. John, it's so lovely to meet you. I'm so glad that we sorted this out, and I wish you the best of luck with the album. I hope someone catches one of the songs and it takes off. Thank
you so much, Iain and Catherine. It's been a pleasure chatting to you this evening. Nice
talking to you. And if you get release any more stuff, come on. You're very, very welcome to come on the show, John.
Thank you so much, both of you. Pleasure.
I'm going to ask you to leave the Zoom meeting, because if I kick people out, I end up accidentally reporting them for spam. So
okay, I'm gonna.
You do it, and you take care, and we'll speak again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye, John. And then we have the awkward moment of, he's gone.
Oh,
he was
nice
great.
Fella.
Wasn't he great?
Yeah.
Wasn't he great?
Mean of you to mention the beautiful South.
That was cruel, but we've got to be congruent. He was absolutely playing the small duet I could have done. He was great, because we got sent this email by a PR company who thought we still worked at Talk Radio, and we went, no, we don't.
Well, they'd sent a few, and it was in the name of someone else, and I said, I think you might be sending this to the wrong person. They went, it's you.
That was it. And it was Pet Clark, and we went, we would like her. And they went, I'll try. You can't get her. How about John? And I was like, okay. And then I read his Wikipedia page. I went, yes, please. We'll take that guy. And he was great. I love these kind of old school British producers who are quite well spoken, very softly spoken, and really, really humble. We didn't even touch the bands that he's worked with. We didn't. We only touched the surface of some of the bands. And even if he just produced John Peel sessions for 5 years,
that'll do.
It really, really is a great song. That will go out as a separate podcast, which we'll put out for free on the Radio Anywhere feed, and we'll also cut that bit out and upload it to the video so everyone can see it. He was great. What a nice guy, and how frustrating that song would sit perfectly on Ken Bruce's show.
Of course it would. Are they trying to be trying to get everyone on trying to be more hip or something?
Is it Radio 1 banning Status Quo again? I don't know. I mean, it's a great song. She's 89. She's
people would love it.
She's one of Britain. She's a legend, proper actual legend.
And it's a really good song. It's perfect.